The atmosphere was alive with music and laughter, the ideal backdrop for what was meant to be the happiest day of my life. I'm Linda, standing there in my white gown, feeling like a princess, but that illusion shattered in an instant. Linda, dear, could you come here for a moment? My mother-in-law's voice sliced through the festive air with its sharp edge. I excused myself from my friends and approached her, noticing the rigidity in her posture and the strained smile on her face. What is it, Mrs. Dalton? I asked, striving to keep my voice calm. It's about the way you look at me, Linda. I can recognize a look of contempt when I see one. I'm your husband's mother, and I deserve respect, not disdain. Her words, thick with accusation, caught me off guard. Mrs. Dalton, I assure you, you're mistaken. I hold nothing but respect for you, I responded, my confusion growing. Respect? Ha, I've seen the way you roll your eyes and hear your little sighs. Do you think I'm blind? You've turned my own son against me. Her voice rose, attracting the attention of nearby guests. Mom, what's going on here? My husband, Mark, appeared, his face clouded with concern. Your wife, she's been disrespectful, always looking down on me, and today, of all days, she's been the worst. Mrs. Dalton's voice quivered, tears brimming in her eyes. Linda, is this true? Mark's gaze bore into me, his face a mix of disbelief and growing anger. No, it's not true. I haven't done anything of the sort, I said firmly, a wave of injustice swelling inside me. She's lying. Mark, I'm your mother. Would I lie to you? Mrs. Dalton sobbed, clinging to his arm in a display that felt unreal. Mark's hand came up and struck my cheek, the slap ringing out in the sudden hush of the room. I stood there, my hand pressed to my stinging cheek, while the guests stared in stunned silence. How could you? I whispered, not to Mark or Mrs. Dalton, but to the universe that had allowed this to unfold. Linda, I didn't mean, Mark stammered, his anger melting into confusion and regret. No, you've shown me exactly who you are, I said, my voice steady despite the chaos inside me. Turning to face the crowd, I addressed them directly. I'm sorry you had to witness this. Please, continue with the celebration. I need a moment alone. As I walked away, the whispers began, but I held my head high. This wasn't the end but the beginning of something new. A plan began to form in my mind, a plan for justice. This humiliation would not go unanswered. In the privacy of the bridal suite, I allowed myself a moment of vulnerability, tears streaming down my face. But these weren't just tears of sorrow, they were tears of resolve. I was determined not to be a victim but to emerge as a victor. After the wedding fiasco, I knew I needed to act. The first step was to secure undeniable evidence. I contacted Mr. Grayson, a private investigator renowned for his discretion and thoroughness. Mr. Grayson, I need your help. My husband Mark and his mother have been, let's say, less than kind. Understood. Linda, what exactly are we looking for? I need evidence of their behavior. Anything that shows a pattern of emotional, financial, or legal abuse. Consider it done. I'll start with surveillance and background checks. I'll dig into their pasts, finances, everything. With my mission clear, I began documenting every conversation with Mark and his mother, every phone call, every interaction. I needed all the evidence I could gather. Amidst this, I found comfort in my friend Sarah. Sarah, I don't know how I'd get through this without you. You don't have to go through it alone. Linda, I'm here for you, always. So, what's the plan? I'm collecting evidence. Mr. Grayson is helping, too. I want to expose them for who they really are. Be careful, Linda, they won't see this coming, and they'll be furious. I know, but I can't let them get away with it. As weeks went by, the evidence began to accumulate, calls where Mark's tone was aggressive and belittling, financial records showing his mother's tight control over his assets, and suspicious transactions suggesting fraud. One evening, Sarah and I reviewed the findings. Look at this, Sarah. These bank statements, large sums of money are being moved, but to where? And these emails, they're planning something, but what? We need to connect the dots. This isn't just emotional abuse, it's a web of deceit and manipulation. Linda, we're onto something significant, Sarah said, her eyes widening with realization. The more I delve into the evidence, the clearer it becomes. Mark and his mother aren't just toxic, they're involved in deeply unethical, possibly illegal activities. Sarah, I think they're embezzling funds from Mark's company. These documents, they're incriminating. Linda, this is serious. You need to be careful. They won't react well to being exposed. I understand, but I can't back down. Not now. The evidence is too compelling, not just of their cruelty but of their criminal activities. It's time to make a plan to bring them to justice and reclaim my life. Linda, exposing them publicly is risky, but if anyone can pull it off, it's you. With Sarah's support and the evidence securely in hand, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore, I was fighting for justice. The next step was clear. I needed to shine a light on their actions. It was time for everyone to see Mark and his mother for who they truly were. I arranged an event under the pretense of a major announcement, inviting friends, family, and, crucially, a few media contacts. The venue was elegant, and the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. Thank you all for coming. I know you're eager to hear the big news. I began, my voice steady and my demeanor composed. Mark and Mrs. Dalton stood beside me, their smiles wide and their expressions blissfully unaware of the upheaval about to unfold. Linda, darling, we're so proud of you. Whatever you have to say, we're behind you, Mark said, his voice dripping with feigned sincerity. I've gathered you all here to reveal some crucial truths about my marriage and the Dalton family. I paused, scanning the crowd's faces for their reactions. Truths? Linda, what are you talking about? Mrs. Dalton's voice quivered, a mixture of confusion and fear evident. I'm talking about the abuse, the lies, and the illegal activities that have been hidden behind closed doors. The room fell into a tense silence. Linda, have you lost your mind? Mark's face turned a deep shade of red, his anger barely contained. Quite the opposite, Mark. I've never been more clear-headed or certain about what needs to be done. I gestured to the screen behind me, where a video began to play. It was a recording of one of their heated, abusive conversations. The crowd gasped, whispers growing louder. Mrs. Dalton's face went pale, her hands shaking. This is just the beginning. These documents reveal financial irregularities, embezzlement, and fraud. I held up a folder filled with incriminating evidence. You can't do this, Linda. You're ruining everything. Mark's voice was a blend of desperation and threat. I'm not ruining anything. I'm revealing the truth, a truth that everyone needs to hear. The media personnel started snapping photos, capturing every moment of the dramatic revelation. Linda, please, let's handle this privately. Mrs. Dalton's voice was a mere whisper, her facade of control shattered. No, Mrs. Dalton, no more private discussions. The time for hiding is over. As I continued to present more evidence, the crowd's reactions ranged from shock to disbelief. Some guests shook their heads, while others whispered among themselves. Mark and Mrs. Dalton stood frozen, their veneer of respectability crumbling. This is my story, a story of surviving abuse and standing up against injustice. I refuse to be a victim any longer. The event concluded with a flurry of activity. The media swarmed, asking questions, while many guests offered words of support and admiration for my courage. As I walked away from the podium, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I had done it. I had exposed them. With composure and resolve, it was a moment of triumph, a moment where I reclaimed my power and my voice. The courtroom was stark and imposing, an appropriate stage for the final act of my journey. As I sat there, a mix of nervousness and determination swirling inside me, my lawyer beside me, I noted how unsettled Mark and Mrs. Dalton appeared across the room. Your Honor, we are here to present the case against Mark and Mrs. Dalton, not just for a divorce, but for years of emotional and financial abuse. My lawyer began, his voice steady and confident. Linda, you can't win this. You're going too far. Mark's desperate whisper reached me from across the room. This isn't about winning, Mark. It's about justice. It's about showing the world who you really are, I said, my voice calm but resolute. The trial continued with my lawyer presenting the evidence methodically, the recordings, the financial documents, everything that illustrated the true nature of the life I had endured. Your Honor, as you can see, the evidence is overwhelming. We seek not only a divorce but also appropriate legal action for the wrongs committed by the defendants. Your Honor, this is all a misunderstanding. Linda is exaggerating. Mrs. Dalton's plea sounded hollow, even to her own ears. Exaggerating? The evidence speaks for itself. You can't hide from the truth any longer, I countered, directing my words at both Mark and Mrs. Dalton, a final affirmation of my stand against them. After reviewing the evidence and hearing the testimonies, the judge delivered her ruling. In light of the overwhelming evidence, I grant the divorce and order legal actions against Mark and Mrs. Dalton for their conduct. As the gavel fell, a profound sense of vindication washed over me. I had done it. I had stood up to them and emerged victorious. With the legal battles concluded, I began a new chapter of my life, a chapter dedicated to healing and rebuilding. I found a serene, small home in the countryside, a stark contrast to the tumult of my previous life. Sitting on the porch of my new house, a warm cup of tea in hand, I gazed at the peaceful view before me. The trees swayed gently in the breeze, birds sang in the distance, and for the first time in a long while, I felt at peace. This was it, a new beginning, a life free from deceit, manipulation, and pain. My journey had been arduous, but it was worth it. I had not only survived, I had triumphed. I had found my strength, reclaimed my voice, and now I was finally free. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the horizon, I knew I was exactly where I was meant to be. The future was uncertain, but it was mine to shape, a future filled with hope, healing, and happiness. This was my story of triumph, a story of a woman who refused to be silenced, who stood tall against all odds. This was my closure, my victory. The story of Linda's journey had come to a close. Do you believe Linda's decision to publicly expose and legally confront her husband and his mother was the best course of action? Could there have been a different way to handle such a situation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story and want to see more like it, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more compelling narratives. Your support helps us bring more stories to life.